Licensing and Safety Committee. First of all, apologies for absence. I don't think we actually have.
Yeah, we do have apologies from councillors Carr, Griffin and Kemp. And Mayhill.
Okay. Thank you. Members, can I sign the minutes of the 18th of October? Agreed. I have no urgent matters. Are there any declarations? No? Okay. Thank you very much for joining us again to go through this draft statement of licensing policy. I know there were some issues previously. I'm hoping that they've all been put right. So I'm going to go to Mandy.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, members. As you're aware, in its role as the licensing authority under the Licensing Act 2003, the Council has a duty to prepare, keep under review, its statement of licensing policy. The policy sets out how the authority approaches its responsibilities under the Act, and it must be reviewed every 5 years. The current statement of licensing policy expires on the 31st of April 23, and therefore we have revised the policy with a view to going out to consultation. Now, the current policy, which was considered by the Licensing and Safety Committee on the 18th of October, members expressed concern relating to a number of web links not working. There was no summary of amendments made or proposed being provided. There was also concern raised over the individual responsible authorities having officer names as opposed to generic emails. And there was also a supplementary request for approval to remove appendices 4, 5 and 6 from the draft. I can now confirm that the members' concerns were duly noted and the policy and report has been amended accordingly. All links to the websites contained in the policy have been checked and amended where necessary. The responsible authority contact details have been removed in Appendix 9 to the draft policy, and that has been replaced with a summary of the role of responsible authorities, and it includes a web link to the responsible authority webpage. And I can confirm that that webpage contains only generic email addresses for all of the responsible authorities. Appendices 4, 5 and 6 have remained in the draft policy as requested. However, their proposed removal has been included in the table of significant amendments, as these can be subjected to amendment at any time during the policy lifetime. So it is something that we do propose removing, but it will go out to consultation and getting the feedback to see whether or not we have the agreement from responsible authorities and other interested parties to have those removed. Attached at Appendix B to the report is the table of significant amendments. I can confirm that that will also be included with the draft policy, which will go out to consultation, so it will be included within and circulated within that consultation. Attached at Appendix C is the list of consultees. We also took on board about the consultation period being conducted over the Christmas period, and as a result, because we need to fit in with the committee cycle, we have extended it from a 6-week to 8-week. So we're proposing to commence on Monday, the 14th of November, and end on the 6th of January. This will still enable us to be able to consider and evaluate all responses in time to prepare a report for the Licensing and Safety Committee with the results on the 7th of February. And that would be prior to full council approval. Consultation will be via email, mail shots, the council's website and the notice board. So we are therefore requesting that members agree to the proposed consultation period and authorise officers to place the draft policy at Appendix A on the council's website, advertise and consult with all the relevant interested parties listed in Appendix C, as described in this report. and that the results of the consultation be reported back to the Licensing and Safety Committee together with a revised draft statement of licensing policy. Prior to the recommendation to full council for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy, and thank you to you and your team for turning this round so quickly. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Chair. And just to confirm, I do echo your comments on thanking the team for turning this round. I know there was some concern. It was purely clarity issues at the last meeting because we are so used to getting extremely thorough policies, and we always have. I can safely say, and I think that the committee would agree, we've always had policies that we've never had to pick anything in. It was just unfortunate there was them few clarity issues at the last meeting. However, I'm very content with this policy as everything in that I'm comfortable with. The only one question I would ask your advice on Mandy, with regards to the consultation period, I'm always nervous about consultations that go over Christmas time, especially with some of the organisations and people that we're dealing with during this busy, November, December. Are you confident that is quite a safe time period for have consultations, or?
Yeah, I am. The original proposal for consultation was for 6 weeks, which is a bog standard time period. Obviously, because we do have to fit in with the committee cycle, we do have to conduct it over the Christmas period. There's no two ways of getting about that, unfortunately. But as a result, we have extended it by an additional 2 weeks so that it does compensate for that week's period of where the Christmas falls in. So, yeah, I don't anticipate there being any issues with that at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mandy and the team, for as everybody else has said, for turning it around so quickly. Just a small error, I think, on page 3, where you say that the ward maps are of 2021. They're actually the ward maps for May 2023. It's the new boundary maps. On page 3 of the policy, which is page 17 of the report. I think you'll find that the new ward boundaries for May 2023 rather than 2021. The map is
as of March 21. Maybe the other ones are burning.
No, the ones in here are the new ones for next year.
I will seek clarification on that, just to double check.
I can tell by the shape of my board that it's not.
Yeah. 2020.
It should be May 23.
23.
May 23, yes. And thank you for making the generic email address. I just wonder whether we could investigate if the MPs have a generic email address, because if this policy's got to last for 5 years, whether you can send it to the office of Gillingham and Rainham, the office of Chatham and Aylesford, or something like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that is the case. However, what we do is whenever we have any councillor changes, etc., we automatically update our own email address lists that we have within our department, just so that we can keep on top of that to make sure that all those that should be consulted.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mandy and Frank, for obviously getting this turned around. I think your comment in your introduction, Mandy, about removal of appendices 4, 5 and 6, that we didn't have an issue with that, and it was me that raised this. My issue was Franco brought that change on the night, and I just felt that you could have, even if you did just circulate by email that you wanted to make that change, I think should have made that change. You could have notified us a little bit earlier. So we didn't have an issue with removing them. It was just the sort of time frame that you sort of notified us.
Yeah, if I can sort of defend on that, it was basically a last-minute change from us in-house. It's where I had actually looked at the policy and thought, we've removed the cumulative impact assessment from there, putting it as a standalone. I think because this is not a statutory requirement and they are guidance only, I think it would be more prudent to remove that, because they are subject to change, to remove that from the policy. And I was seeking your approval to remove it. Now, one thing I will say is, if members are in agreement tonight for me to remove that prior to consultation, brilliant, because then everybody that is being consulted, including members, will see what the new policy would look like with those removed. So that's really for a decision that, you know, do you want me to leave them in there to go out to consultation, or would you be happy for me to remove, which would be my preference?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that, and I'll certainly include that to the recommendations when we go to recommendations shortly. Just one other question, though, Madeline. I've been told to sort of get with the times by my colleague here. Just for example, one example, there's few of these in the policy document, but on page 39 of the document, on page 53 of our agenda paper, at 6.7, when it refers to the guidance and policy, the premises licence at Gravesham Borough Council there, it actually just states what it is, what the policy is, but it doesn't actually give you that website. Now, where Mrs Chambers is on paper version, you know, she couldn't see that. We could click this by going electronically and we can go straight to that policy, but that, you know, I had a slight issue with that, but as I said, my colleague here has told me to get with the times, and that's how it is now.
I totally take on board what you're saying is that we're not considering those that are not computer literate and just want paper copies of things. Again, that is something that as consultees that members could raise during the consultation period for consideration on how we move forward with this. You know, as we are moving towards a digital age or trying to encourage it, you know, it is the way forward, is that web links are contained and that the web links don't specify specific email addresses, and this is all down to accessibility, because if you are on a computer and you're visually impaired, you'll have an accessibility reader or a document reader which will go through, and what it does is it will explain what that link is. So it won't go through, if you put a whole web address in there, it will read out the whole web address, which could end up with the URL being infinitely long. And by the time you get to the end of it, it makes no sense whatsoever. But yes, I mean, any of those sort of concerns, please, that's what the consultation period is for. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mandy and team, for turning this around. Can I suggest that before it's sent out to consultation that it's actually proofread? There are some things like "and individual" rather than "an individual." And I know that we have all this predictive text and all that sort of stuff, and that's where these things come from. So could I just make a request that actually some of the sentences, while we might know what they mean, could they be checked for just to be very specific about it? And those sort of little things are the things that people start to go, well, I don't actually understand whether they've been cutting and pasting this document. They don't appreciate the vast amount of work, which we do appreciate that you've been doing. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I do take that on board. I can say the current document has been read by 3 of us individually, because we want to make sure that we had cover of everything. But it's the same thing when you get a long document, sometimes you get a little bit word blind. So if, again, during the consultation period, you do notice any grammatical errors, please highlight that to us so that we can pick it up if we have missed it. But yes, we will go through it again prior to consultation. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Brown.
I don't have any other member who's indicated, so I shall ask the Vice Chairman to move the recommendation.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Yeah, very happy to move the recommendation. And again, thanks, go on record for the quick turnaround in this. So obviously we meet the deadline. Happy to move recommendations on page 12 at 9.1 and 9.2, but also add a 9.3 that we remove appendices 4, 5 and 6.
Thank you.